With a perfect 6-0 record, the women's hockey team has climbed to number 1 in the USCHO.com poll and will host number 2 Minnesota this week at LeBon Arena. Friday's game will start at 7 p.m. and Saturday's a 3 p.m. start. Head coach Mark Johnson is here. We'll have some opening comments, then take questions.
Thanks, Brian. Certainly pleased with the 2 games this past weekend. Friday night being our home opener. 6-week exams, a lot of parents in town, distractions that certainly coaches don't like, but I thought our team came out and played really well and did a lot of good things from the previous weekend and then responded well yesterday afternoon and earned a sweep this past weekend. And as Brian mentioned, we have Minnesota coming in this weekend for a 7 o'clock game Friday night and then turn around and play them 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So history tells us when we get together with the Gophs, it's usually a very entertaining series. Last couple of years, not many people have been able to figure out Minnesota. They've won a lot of hockey games. They've beaten us. And so the challenge will be to prepare ourselves for Friday night and get ready for a more improved team than this past week, and that's how we as coaches look at our schedule, is to try to get better every weekend. We've made progress in a lot of different areas, and certainly we'll get tested this weekend.
Mark, how did Minnesota get your number?
Well, they got our numbers. They got everybody else's number, too. Put them in their back pocket. 2 years ago, they didn't lose a game. Last year, they only they lost in the national championship game, and North Dakota beat them earlier in the year. So they haven't lost many games. They've had good chemistry the last couple of years, and they've found ways to beat us. And it was evident last year in the semifinal game where we played a strong game. It looked like we were going to have a real good chance to beat them, and they came out in the third period and found a way to score a couple goals. They've had good power plays the last 3 or 4 years, which has really helped them. And it looks like, again, at 53%, they've got another good power play. They have the right personnel along with the right chemistry. And you go back to Natalie Darwitz and Chrissy Wendell when they were, probably 30 or 40% in those days on the power play. So they've had the personnel, and certainly the last couple of years, it's all come together. And so, we'll be challenged, but it's early in the season, and it's a good time to go up against them and see where we're at.
You can't help but look at the number 1 next to your name and the number 2 next to their name, but do you have to beat them to kind of validate that ranking, given the recent history with them?
Well, be honest, I didn't know we were 1 until Brian just mentioned it, and it's early in the process. I'm not sure why we put out the rankings at this particular time. The Ivy schools haven't even played a game yet, and so we're just getting going within our schedule. As we finish up this weekend, then we'll go to Bemidji and finish up in North Dakota and really get a flavor of where we're at and where we need to go. But obviously, if we're going to be successful, we have to go through Minnesota. They've been on top of the mountain here the last few years, and if you're going to get to where you want to go, that's the team that you're going to have to beat.
Great.
Coach, obviously it's not an average series. How important is it for especially the younger players just to treat this like it is another series, or is it good to focus on the fact it is more than that?
Well, it's another game. Obviously, the jersey makes it very interesting. But some of our players, who were in the semifinal game last year, will certainly be excited to play again against Minnesota. And I think equally well on their side, they're going to be excited to come down here and try to beat us in our own building. So it makes up for a good week of practice, because as a coach, your players are going to be focused. They're going to be excited. They're going to be waiting to drop that puck Friday night, and it should be very entertaining. And again, it's for both teams. It gives you a gauge of where you are. The middle part of October.
Andy?
Mark, allowing for the possibility that my math is bad, you have 5 players on your team that have ever beaten Minnesota. What's their mood this week, and what type of message do you think they're cultivating to tell the other players on the team?
Well, I think the upperclassmen will, help the younger players in regards to, information, as far as some of their key players and what they might do in situations. We'll obviously show some video as we go through the week and, get a picture of what they look like with this year's club. And so our upperclassmen, especially our seniors, if your numbers are accurate, and I were in their shoes, I would certainly get myself real excited to play Friday night and make sure those numbers get twinked a little bit.
AJ in the back.
Coach, how do you think Andrew Dabian looked this past weekend, getting back-to-back shutouts against Ohio State?
Well, I thought Friday, especially in the third period, when we took 5 straight penalties, she got tested and, made some, real nice saves, and certainly our penalty kill Friday was good. And if it's going to be good, your goaltender has to be the one leading that charge. So I thought she played well, and then she, came back yesterday afternoon and, was solid. And if your goaltender gives you an opportunity to win, then that's all you're going to ask out of your goaltender. So she seems to be comfortable. Having played the 10 games last year, getting a chance with the Canadian national program this past summer, I think her confidence is in a good place. And as with our entire team, we'll get tested this weekend, and she certainly will get tested also.
Reed on the left.
Coach, 28 for 28 in the penalty kill. I mean, a lot of penalties being committed by your team, but they're having a lot of success, a couple shorthanded goals that they've scored. Is it difficult to coach that you can't take that many penalties when the team's having so much success killing them off and even scoring shorthanded goals?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, obviously we're pleased with the penalty kill, and it starts with our goaltender. But as far as being disciplined, you have to stay out of the penalty box, and it's going to be one of the big keys to this weekend series. As we've talked about in the past, they've generally had good power plays over the course of time. They win hockey games on special teams, and so we have to stay out of the penalty box. And we talked about that Friday night after the game. It was a good learning opportunity. I thought we did a better job Sunday, but we continue to have to improve in those areas and be disciplined.
John.
We're a few years into the opening of LeBon Arena. You played there a few seasons now. Looking back, what sort of advantage can that provide in a series like this, maybe on a weekend where there's no football game?
Well, it just it creates energy, and certainly when the building's full, there's games where we've had the band. It's an advantage for us just because our players get excited. It can be a little intimidating for the visitors because in our sport, we don't run into that a lot, especially on the road. So I know in the couple playoff series that we've held at LeBon, the teams that we've played, it's been a huge factor for us to have the big crowds and the excitement. Our players get excited when it's full, and I think the entertainment value of those games has been real high. So, people enjoy what they're seeing. They're coming back, and I'm sure this weekend we'll have nice crowds.
Andy.
Mark, have you had a chance to gauge how different Minnesota is without Amanda Kessel, and if so, what have you noticed?
Well, it just like with any team, the deeper you can go, the more success you're going to have, and certainly by her not being able to play this year, that thins them out in the scoring department. I mean, 2 years ago she had over 100 points, was a Patty Kazmaier winner. Unfortunately for her, she's ran into some injuries and is not able to play this year. But if she were in the lineup, that would just deepen their pool. And the chemistry between her and Hannah Brandt 2 years ago was awesome. I mean, their power play was good, and those two were running it with Rachel Ramsey on the point. And, if you took a penalty, they were going to get a real good chance to score. And so with her not being in the lineup and not playing this season certainly hurts them.